And good Wednesday morning. It is Bradford and Brooks, just minus the Brooks. Milton here with you this morning with Margie Bradford. And of course, we're joined in the studio this morning by David Avis, who's the Democratic candidate for 3rd District Magistrate here in Nelson County. One thing I want to get out of the way here real quick, just a reminder that WBRT Radio and the Nelson County Gazette will be hosting a candidates debate tonight at 6 o'clock at the Nelson County Civic Center on South 3rd Street. Candidates for Nelson County Judge Executive will be Tim Hutchins and Eric Shelburne. We'll answer questions from moderator Stan Mullins. Doors open at 5:30. And you can also tune in right here to WBRT Radio, BRTV, Bars Cable Channel 19, and of course online at WBRTcountry.com for that. And that all begins at 6 o'clock. Good morning, Margie and David.
Good morning, Bill.
Welcome to the show this morning, and I'll turn it over to Miss Margie to get us started.
Well, David, we start out all these candidate interviews by saying, tell us who you are. I mean, tell the people of Nelson County who David Avis is and what he stands for.
Okay. My name is David Avis. Of course, I repeat this from May, so basically about the same because I haven't changed any. But still, my name is David Avis. I was born and raised in Bardstown, Kentucky. My parents are James Cripps Avis and Evelyn Yoakum Avis. I'm from a family of 12, 6 boys and 12 girls. 6 girls. 6 and 6, 12, yeah. I'm married to Regina Avis for 40 years. We have 5 adult children, David, Brandy, Robbie, Matthew, and Sarah. I've lived in the district for over 50 plus years. I've lived on Dump Hill, Maple Hill, and on Simpson Lake Hill. I have stayed within a distance of 4 miles of where I was born. Some of the things that I do, I'm a volunteer for Feed America and Bread of Life. I currently sit on a PVA Tax Appeals Board. Been on that for 6 years. I've attended probably more fiscal court meetings than any of the opponents put together. I've been involved in youth sports such as Nelson County Little League Baseball and developmental 7th and 8th grade basketball for over 15 years. I retired from American Fuji Seal after almost 30 years of service. I am a past employee of the Nelson County Road Department. I am the owner of Avis Home Rentals for over 35 years. I have a background in construction, city sidewalks, retaining walls, water and sewer lines, reconstruction at Fort Knox. I'm well versed of understanding blueprints and also framing houses. With this background, I will be able to vote on fiscal matters that I have the knowledge to bring to the table on that understanding, and I understand firsthand about budgets and how to run a successful business. Also, I'm a member of the St. Joe Catholic Church. I attended St. Joe Grade School, made my first Holy Communion, graduated from Bardstown High School, took 2 years of welding, Nelson County. I've learned a lot of trades, so putting that all together, I'm running for magistrate, of course, and I want your vote and support. It'd be an honor.
Okay.
That's my bio.
David, one of the, I think, the issue kind of faces the county, along with other counties, all the time, but we're really staring down the barrel of a possible issue coming up. If you were a magistrate, what efforts would you support to improve county revenues, and what kind of taxes would you consider, especially when we're looking at the possibility of some bourbon revenue possibly leaving with tax cuts there?
Well, I did go to Frankfurt on that valorium tax that you're speaking of. I hate to speak out of line, so that's why I have my notes. And if I can find it real quick, I'll kind of give you a little breakdown. If it happens, and I don't really see it happening by going up there and talking to the General Assembly at Frankfurt, actually Jimmy Higdon, he would, I don't think he would pass it anyway, but his county would have a lot to lose in Marion County if he voted to do that. But you can call it abatement or industrial revenue bonds, of course the county signs, and the loss would be $8,653,000. And to break it down, it's $4,854,000 for public schools. For the Bardstown City School, it'd be $2,063,000. Nelson County Library would lose $280,000. The Extension Service, Nelson County Extension Service, would lose $93,000, and then Nelson County Government would lose, which is Fiscal Court, $1.156 million, and the Bardstown government, city government, would lose $205,000. So that's a total of $8,653,000. So if it happens, that's one thing, but I don't think it's going to. As far as making up revenue, we just have to see. Once you get in, you can see some of the things that's going on. And with the budget, if you go line by line, then you can see where some of the money is being spent, and maybe there'll be some savings there. Of course, you got contingency money. You got money to set aside. So growth will bring you more revenue, and that's inevitable. That's going to happen. So hopefully we sustain that in the next 5 to 10 years with growth.
Okay. Is there anything that you think we could do better or maybe do less of to help with revenues?
It ain't about raising taxes, that's for sure. And most politicians are going to tell you that, and that's what you need to hear. There are user fees that they call. Some people say that like another restaurant tax to have more revenue. But I just want to move the county forward and not go backwards. So I think growth will take care of a lot of that.
Okay.
David, what changes would you make in fiscal, what are changes that you would like to see made in fiscal court that they're not doing now, or that you would like to see done differently?
Well, I think you can form certain committees to have for fiscal court when issues arise, such as pay raises and what have you, that issues that come up that are really important to all the people.
So a committee of fiscal court members or of other people?
Of other people, yeah, that they can, they may have a different outlook, and they may have, especially if they're in the, let's say if they're into pay scales, if they know how to do a pay scale study, they're more prevalent to know it because we don't do that as fiscal court as far as knowing how to do all that. Of course, if you're in a union, you know what a pay scale is, and some people don't understand the difference between a percentage as far as what the county government gives in raises, and there's I say a minimum that's required. Unlike a school board, they'll take that 4% every time. But the county takes a percentage and gives it to all their employees every year. The last percentage was 7% across the board, which was a pretty good raise. So it's not just the members of fiscal court, but it's the people that would vote on certain things that they need done or want done. So if that answers the question.
Okay. And there's been a lot of talk over the last several years about an indoor recreational facility. Where do you stand on that? How do you support such a plan?
Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. I discussed it with Kim Houston, and she's going to chair that with the city. It's going to be more city-related than it is county, where the city's probably going to be 80% more involved than the county. County being about 20%. I think there's other ways to raise money through the bourbon industry. Maybe they're making billions of dollars. Maybe they can give back to the county and support us. And that gets into a lot of different issues. Campaigning, you hear what people want. There's nothing for kids to do. I think St. Joe built a little playground over there, and some of the parents at the doors I'm knocking on said they go down there now for something that simple, but I think we need something for young and old for people to do. And as you're knocking on doors, you'll see there's a lot of kids in the neighborhoods that don't have anywhere to go. So most of them are going to E-Town or surrounding counties. But I didn't make a list of, I just want that.
Of course, then on that point that you just made, when people go out of county to do the things that they want to do, that's taking tax revenue to those other counties.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Well, speaking of recreation in Nelson County, the Dean Watts Park is centrally located. However, what about the smaller communities? Is it fair to require parents from Chaplin, Howardstown to drive their kids to practice in Bardstown? Or do you think they should have, that the county should support recreation in those smaller communities?
They should support them. Actually, when I was doing Little League, I built a baseball field, regulation Little League baseball field on 8 acres that I did myself because kids didn't have a place to practice, so I made it feasible for them to do it, and I'm sure that the county can surely spend a little money in that direction. One being Boston community. They don't have a park down there, and I would strive to have that done myself personally because I'm from the west side of town. So yeah, they need to support all the communities and all the cities with parks for kids, so they shouldn't have to drive so far. That's kind of the answer to that. Short and sweet.
And you're absolutely right. On the west side, there's not a whole lot of anything. Once you hit all the way to the county line, there's not much of anything on the Boston Road corridor. So out there as well. Kind of go back to revenue for a second. The county landfill brings in some revenue, but we also, I guess, garner some of that revenue from garbage from outside counties. The county does garbage collection. Would you support privatizing the landfill or in the garbage collection, or you would best to just kind of stay where it's at right now?
I would not privatize it because you can't control where the legit goes or how it's ran. So a simple person can't go in there and run the landfill for sure, as you know. Of course, I was talking to her about a breakdown of garbage that comes out of Washington County and Marion County. It brings in $541,000 of revenue to our landfill. We have 500 acres out there, so that's 50 years of landfill that we have. So without the customer base, you can't suffice what you're doing out there because you don't have enough garbage. We only have 11,000 households as far as garbage. We have 46,000 people, but we got 11,000 households that actually in the landfill. So that's $16 per family is what it boils down to, which is probably cheaper than any landfill there is. I do have a breakdown on that, by the way. Breckinridge County, they charge $25. Bullitt County charges $18.75. Grayson County, $19. Hardin County, $21. Meade County, $17. Spencer County, $18. Washington County, $17. Marion County, $18. And Nelson County is cheapest at $16. So it's fine the way it is. There's no sense in changing it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely.
I'd like to really add to it too that this is a diversity county. We're diversified in a lot of people think it's just all bourbon, but it's not. And just to tell you about how it's diversified, we have in the distilleries covers about 14%. You have automotive is 14%. You have packaging is 14%, 13%, sorry. Next one would be food beverage. You have construction at 11%, wood production 11%, machine shop 16%, and logistics, which is trucking, and then the other is about 5%. So, and then you take your employment. The distilleries have a 25% of employment, okay? Automotive has 31%. And the reason I say this is because don't put all your eggs in one basket, which I don't think we have as far as when it comes to the distilleries and the revenue that we get from that. But we don't want to lose it, but we still have other revenue as far as fiscal court goes. Packaging, 22% of employees. Logistics is 4%. Food beverage, 7%. Wood production is 2%, construction 4%, machine shops 4%, and others is 1%. That's a breakdown from NACEDA. Facts.
David, in earlier conversations, you've said that you had visited every single department the county government. Would you like to share some of the information that you got there that you think would require, or you'd like to see some changes made in?
Well, I am the only candidate that actually has visited the jail. That's from Buck Snelling. And he'll say, well, you're the only one that's ever come down here to visit it. Actually, I went twice, because the first time I went, I really didn't get to go into one of the cells, where they keep people. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, fiscal court, everything's about safety. Everything you talk about is about safety. So the jail is definitely about safety. And so, as I said before, not being detrimental towards anybody, it's just a given that the jail is in a shortfall of about $1 million some every year, as the EMS, which are necessities, we have to have them. The jail, when they talk about building a new jail, the big key is how you're going to build it with the money that you got as far as fiscal court goes. So as far as the safety issue, as far as the jail, I don't think it's safe for the workers to be exposed a lot. It's inevitable that it's going to grow. The growth's going to grow. We're going to need something to house people if we're going to house them. So however that gets done, it's going to have to be done. EMS definitely is a necessity. It's another one that's in a shortfall. But it's hard collecting fees sometimes for those guys. They have a lot of employees. There's a lot of budget. Money comes out of the budget. The landfill, when you get back to that, they do make money, and they're in the black. So they're good to go. And I wasn't really going to get into all of what we do, but since you asked, the county has 170 employees. So that comes out of the budget, all this does. Sheriffs, deputies, clerks, fire department. We need industrial land, of course. We talked about that earlier. Traffic flow, bypass, affordable housing, aquatic center we just talked about for young and old, animal shelter, senior citizens, people on fixed incomes, jail, of course, EMS, housing development, landfill, road department, solid waste, inflation, comprehensive plan, use of transportation, education, public human services, recreation, development areas, rural conservation, human rights, homeless people, shelters, spouse abuse shelters. You got me going. Domestic violence, another one. And then you take all your supervisors, all your maintenance people, administrative costs, recreation employees. So we got a lot of people that get a lot of money out of a budget. Is about $28 million budget. Mm-hmm. Unlike the city, there's about 60 million.
You mentioned the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
Are there any changes that you would think are needed to the comprehensive plan, or do you think it is adequate the way it is?
Well, with the comprehensive plan, you start within and you spread out. Now, when you start spreading out, it depends on what are you going to do as far as, and I say it's about transportation, that's another thing. And then they talk about people in the city, they may want walking trails and swimming pools. People in the county, they may want, maybe they don't want their land touched. It depends on what the infrastructure is and how the roads are and how you are coming into a farmland. If they want it, if they don't want it, then, there's different needs for city people and county people, right?
No, I want to go back to something you were just talking about with the pay and all that with the county employees. And you visited with all the departments of the county. Have you ridden any with law enforcement to kind of get a feel for what they do out there?
I would like to, but I don't know if that's a big liability for me to get in a police car. I did ask if I could ride on the back of a garbage truck, get a feel for that. All the jobs are important.
How'd that go?
I would love to do it.
Haven't done it yet?
I haven't.
Okay.
I'd love to.
So
Just like the jail, I wanted to feel it, and I wanted to see it, because I can't talk about it if I don't look at it, you know?
right. So we'll see if I can get you in a police car to ride around with that. But
That'd be great.
there's been a lot of talk about the pay for the deputies. I know with the sheriff's office, Raymond is competing with the department right down or on the other side of the building with the city police, and he's been kind of fighting for more money for his deputies. Where do you stand with that? I know there have been some reluctance with others. I don't know if you were open to exploring that.
I understand exactly where you come from. As you know, Raymond says he's been beating a dead horse for 3.5 years. And apparently 3.5 years ago, they didn't give him a raise, or they didn't do anything about it. I'm not in there. I can't do anything about it unless I am in there. So what I did is I went to the city to make sure I got the right numbers. And these numbers are from Fiscal Court. And I think what he's saying is if he can go across the hallway and get a higher paying job, first of all, there's got to be an opening. And the city is full right now. They don't have any openings. And most of the people that come from other departments, and if I could just maybe read this, it's been read before, but it's factual. I'm not going to read the bashing part. But currently, 13 out of 17 deputies of fiscal court payroll have come from other departments in the area because of better pay or working conditions. That's 76% of the officers currently working for the county of Nelson. We must be doing something right. Okay? Nelson County Fiscal Court spends a record of $2.7 million this year for law enforcement, nearly $270,000 more than previous year. So the amount combined with the sheriff $2.2 million budget means that $5 million has been spent in county law enforcement efforts. And it says right here they have prepared a report comparing our sheriff's deputies' pay to other agencies using the years of service in Nelson County, and find that we are competitive with most regional departments. After reviewing this, though, there were about 4 deputies that actually need to take a look at those guys, and because of their tenure, to see next time they're given raises that they would be looked at. And like I said, Nelson County Fiscal Court stands by the commitment to our law enforcement and thank them for their service in this county. Now, that being said, I have a breakdown. At least I try to prepare myself for it. And I'm sorry I have to go through all these numbers and these papers, but if you want to know the facts, I'll tell them to you. And I didn't get them out of the air. I got them from all the heads of departments. So, I don't know if you realize, it takes, this is kind of a breakdown, to put an officer on the street, it's $118,000. Now, if they make $60,000, they actually make $90, because they get 50 cents on every dollar in their retirement that's paid into their retirement. So that's their money. Of course, they don't get it till they retire. It takes $27,000 to insure them through their insurance benefits. Social Security, of course, is paid in. Hazardous pay, I just mentioned, 50 cents on a dollar. Then you've got workers' comp, of course, $1,800 a year. Now, that's $118,954.16. Also, they get to drive a car home, which is valued at $50,000. They also get uniforms for the year, which is $2,400 a year. The total of that is $171,354.16 for each officer that we put on the street. Now, that being said, our sheriff, we put him on the street with all his benefits, is $219,213.70. Now, you multiply this one here by how many employees you have as far as the sheriff deputies. It's a lot of money. It's about, I had said, about $5 million a year out of your budget. So what I did is I went to the city. Of course, we have a comparison here with the county. And so what I done, Raymond says he can go across the hallway for a guy that's been there 10 years. All right, the difference And the pay scales, as I mentioned earlier, about the percentage that the county got was, they got a 7% raise, but here it is. This is over a 12-year period. And if you look at the percentages they got.
You're talking about the city or the county?
County.
All right.
About the raises that the county got.
Right.
So over a 12-year period, and I won't name them all, but it's 2.72 being, probably 3 being the highest, 1.50 being the lowest, and then the 7%. That's still, that just put them at 2.48. I mean, they're behind the 8 ball, there's no doubt about that, in pay raises. I'll agree with that, okay? But the pay scale is this. When you look at the pay scale for Nelson County, and then Bardstown City, Mount Washington, Bullitt County, Shepherdsville, Shively, LMPD. If you look at all of them, and you look at how many years they've been there, you'll see that we're competitive. But that doesn't mean that we can't sit down and figure out a pay scale where we can retain officers in the county by giving them a pay scale like the city has. The city, like every 2 years, they'll get a $2,000 increase. So for 10 years, they get $20,000 more dollars. That's their pay scale. And then also, they have 7 officers that are retired from LMPD that they don't have to pay the hazardous pay, and they don't have to pay the benefits on them. So they save a lot of money. The city saves a lot of money. The county does not have any LMPD officers, except for one retired that's came back, but he's not from LMPD, he's from here. So there would be a lot of savings there if he would hire retired police officers, a big savings. So when you look at my chart, of course, you'll see that the city's got different grades, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I don't want to bore everybody with all this, but it's just a fact. And if you want the facts, I got them. I'll give them to you. I done said how it goes, but the 10-year officer, yeah, if his grade is a sergeant, he can make $35 an hour. The over here is probably one of the top grades. It's $33 an hour. So there's a couple dollars difference. But to retain employees, you have to have an incentive for them to stay 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, etc. And I think with a different pay scale, that we can obtain the objective of where we need to go with the sheriff's pay. And everybody be happy, hopefully.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with more right after this here on Bradford and Brooks.
Thanks for the coffee. No problem. With my cash rewards card from Navy Federal Credit Union, I get up to 1.75% cash back.
Isn't it 1.5%?
Now it's up to 1.75%.
That's bigger!
And better! I bought these scones with my cash back! I love scones! Me too! Scones for everyone!
When you sign up for direct deposit, you can earn up to 1.75% cash back with the Cash Rewards Card. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Insured by NCUA.
Here at Total Wine & More, you'll love what you find this Halloween.
Me thirsty.
Oh, hey, Frankenstein. Did you enjoy that Cabernet?
Oh, good. Want margarita?
Well, all the villagers are raving about this tequila.
Ooh.
And we have it at the lowest price.
Economical.
Find what you love what you find, with the totally lowest prices for Halloween. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly, B21.
Moments like watching my grandson steal second mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that is spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for postmenopausal women or for men with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
Hometown Radio, WBRT.
And we are back here on Bradford and Brooks, 11:36 on this Wednesday morning. Joined in the studio this morning by Democratic candidate for Magistrate David Avis here on Bradford and Brooks this morning. And Margie, I think we're back to you.
All right. David, the Nelson County EMS is a county-owned service. Do you think the county should continue to operate the service or to own and operate this ambulance service?
The county, yes, definitely, and it should. And they do a great job, and I don't see it going anywhere else but with the county.
Right.
Yeah. So that's just a quick answer. They do have. I'll tell you what they have. Ambulance service. They have 29 full-time employees. Their ranges go anywhere from $23 to $30 or whatever, but then they got part-time employees. They got 14 of them, and they make $23, $17, $18 an hour. But I think my understanding was they have about 8 ambulances, and then they have like 4 on, 4 off. So I think they do a great job. And then they got one at New Haven, Bloomfield, I think, station, where they can get around to people. And then if you want to talk about the fire department, we can talk about the fire department too.
Well,
I just like to say this. I just never did understand why that we have 2 separate fire departments. If you think, and I know people don't want to hear the word merger, but just think of the equipment that the city and the county would have together. And I've said this before on a debate, I think, that the city has 3 shifts of fire department. So they're fully staffed, and someone is always there, and they do react to a fire when a fire is called out within the city limits. The county has 1 shift, and after 4 o'clock, if you have a fire, then all the volunteers, if they show up, they're going to come put your fire out. So my way of thinking is, why ain't we covered all the way around, all 3 shifts with county and city? So I think the only way you can make it happen if it merged, but some people are okay with it and some are not. But that's something that whether it should have already been done, but it's something I like to look into. If I'm a magistrate, of course I'll babble on.
So you'd want to look at trying to put those 2 departments back together.
Yes, sir. Put them back together. And I think you'd be a stronger unit by doing that, and save money. Of course, the county, we pay on taxes. That's I'll show you what that is. It's $60 on taxes, which I pay a lot of.
Believe, if my number is correct, I believe from 1966 till about 2016, 17, 18, somewhere in that ballpark, they were together.
Yes.
And functioned, and then of course that all fell apart under a previous administration.
Correct, it did.
What was the reasoning behind separating them?
I know that was in another mayor's term, and I don't recall exactly what was going on, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know that at that point, that's when the 2 departments split. You had Bardstown, Nelson County, now you've got Bardstown, and then Nelson County Fire and Rescue.
My brother, Johnny, he was on the fire department when Arch Pendergrass was the head of it, and my brother, he liked to drive fast, so he joined, so he could drive fast and go to a fire. But those are special kind of people, because I'm going to run away from a fire and they run into them. Big difference, but they got a different adrenaline flow than what I got. So he had that adrenaline flow. He liked to run into them, and he even took scuba diving lessons to go underwater and rescue people. So those people have a passion for it, and I think they do a great job. But I think we'd be well protected if it was 3 shifts all the way around. But I think that would only happen if you were merged, because I don't think the county could be able to afford 3 shifts of full-time fire department.
Now, with that, would you also want to explore, because the other thing that was separated during that time frame was the the city and county rec departments.
Yeah.
Would you want to look at trying to put those two back together as well, or?
They should have never been split to begin with. I mean, that was a sad day when that happened, and I was involved in all the Little League sports, and that's one of the reasons I built the baseball field, so we'd have room to play or room to practice, but there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we subsidize the recreation, and the city does too. That's combined, city and county. So, yeah, that's my answer. Yeah, I think they should be combined. Would make more sense.
David, the magistrates a couple of years ago voted to change the allocations of paving money to account for the number of miles of roadway in each of the districts. Would you, do you think this is a fair allocation of paving money, or would you support keeping this?
No, I think you ought to give it all to District 3.
Oh, well.
No.
That takes care of that.
No, I know what you're saying. With the roads, what was allocated to District 1 was $115,000. District 2 was $122,000. District 3, which was the least, which is the district I'm in, was $85,000. District 4 was $52,000. District 5 was $124,000. So they give you $600,000, and it's distributed 5 ways. So that being said, if your roads are in good shape and you can put it to somebody else road, then you do that. I think it's the fair way of doing it.
Well, David, I have to say you're the best prepared candidate we've had on here.
I appreciate that.
I've heard more facts and figures. Facts and figures.
Now, as a fellow District 3 resident, I know most of the main roads that we travel are in pretty good shape. Have you driven any of the back roads to see how the rest of the roads in District 3 are standing up?
Well, let me tell you, as a former Nelson County Road Department employee, at the time, I ran a ditcher. And that's when you clean out all the ditches. And I went through the whole county, not just my district. Every road in the county I've been on. So all of a sudden they take that away for some reason, I don't know. Now they got to grade all that goes around and cleans them out, which takes more people and that sort of thing. But I have, and when I'm campaigning, of course, I'm going door to door. I see all the roads. I'm on them all the time. Like I said, I've lived here all my life. So I'm very aware of the shape and which ones don't get attended to. I'd like to take some of this road money, maybe start a park down in Boston too, for kids. They have a place to play. If there's any way to allocate that money, if somebody else didn't need it on their other roads, we talk about parks. And it is a big thing with kids having a place to go and play, and we get back to that. But that's kind of part of where that money goes, is where it's supposed to go. And there is flex funds and discretionary funds that the judge has set back, just like you would if your refrigerator goes out. You'll have some money set back where you can buy that refrigerator instead of borrow money to pay for it. And that's the way that works.
I knew that the city council members had discretionary funds. I don't know if magistrates did as well, but
yeah, they've given away quite a bit here lately. The city has.
Okay.
Yeah.
David, while fiscal court doesn't have complete control over planning and zoning, what do you think what the goals for planning and zoning should be for the county?
I've always said, good fences make good neighbors, right? So I'd said about being in rental business, I've been in probably over 100 transactions in real estate. And the first thing I do is I go and I go to have it surveyed. So I do all the 4 corners. And so that way, over the years, somebody may have came over on my property and he thought he owned it. So I want to make sure he knows and I know that it's correct, right? That's part of planning and zoning. Planning and zoning, fiscal court and the magistrates and the city, they write those ordinances. So when you write them, most time it takes a lawyer to write them and it takes a lawyer to understand them. But with Jan, she understands. She's just doing, it's like a rule. She's doing what she's supposed to do, and I understand that. But if you want them tweaked, magistrates should be able to go in and tweak them if they need tweaking, if people's got a problem with it. So I kind of describe it as playing baseball. In baseball, there's a rule. There's a written rule you follow. And the other thing is a judgment call. And if it's a strike, you might not think it is, but that's a judgment call. So a lot of people get confused with rules and judgment calls. And basically, I mean, she knows the facts. There's no doubt about that. That being said.
We're going to take one final one, and we are back the last few minutes here on Bradford and Brooks. Milton here with you this morning, and with Margie Bradford, and also David Avis, the 3rd District Magistrate candidate on the Democratic side here this morning. And we've just got a few minutes left. Had to catch up on commercials. One of the things we were talking about on break is this connector road that has been talked about for a while now. That's going to make it a lot easier, a lot better for the folks that live out on the Boston Road corridor.
Only if they use it. So the point is, they went the cheapest route. The cheapest route was close to the bridge going out West Stephen Foster, right by Mr. Jim Goatley before you get to the trailer park. So to go through there before you hit the bridge this way, to go out to Templin, and then from Templin, of course, to Wilson Park. So that's where that connector would go. Now the rock trucks or whatever truck's coming from the rock quarry, they don't have to go that way just because it's built. And if they're going towards New Haven, they're not going to take that connector to go to 245 and come back around town just to bypass the city. They're not going to do it. So the connector is actually in the wrong place. It should be out by the rock quarry. Then if they want to go east or south, north, whichever way they want to go, they could go that way. They can hit 245 if they need to. And a lot of trucks that are coming off of the BG, from what I'm told, a lot of times their GPS brings them down 3rd Street when they can go right down 245 and bypass town. So there's a lot of issues with the traffic in Bardstown. With that being said, now the connector is the cheapest way to go. If they use it, it would alleviate some of the traffic. But I don't think it's going to do anything until it goes from there over to New Haven Road. So that connector needs to go both ways. I want to make sure I got my directions right, south and north. Yeah, that's where it would go. Just remember the sun comes up, where it comes up in the east and goes in the west, sets in the west. Just remember that when you get your directions. But, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. But yeah, I don't think it's going to alleviate much, to be honest with you. Another thing, the food bank will be at Boston Community Center today from 2 to 4. So if anybody needs any grub, they can go down there and get it. And I'm not supposed to be tapping on the desk because it makes a sound.
You'll get another text
radio.
or with that. You get in trouble.
Yeah. We were talking about, you know, why people run for office. And I've always thought, you know, living in the county, I can run for county magistrate, but I can't run for city council because I don't live in the city. But the people that live in the city can run for county magistrate. So I'm trying to think, you know, why is that, you know? And then when I was paying occupational tax, I was paying city tax. So it's not a city tax issue that I'm aware of. I don't know if they just think people in the county don't know enough about the city to be on city council. But, and I've been studying that for a long time, but never really got an answer why that is. So that's why I'm running for magistrate, and I live on Hubbard's Lane. Anyway, that being said, I'll just kind of throw that in there.
Gotcha.
If y'all got any more questions.
David, what makes you different from your opponent? Why should the citizens of District 3 elect you rather than your opponent?
Well, I do live in the county, and I have lived in the city, but more in the county. I do know the issues of the county and the city. My business is here in Nelson County, and I do pay taxes like everybody else, and there was just, so you know when they used to say, "I'll see you on the radio," that was just a kind of a, or "see you in the funny papers."
All right.
Well, this is where I see you on the radio, and that's all these taxes I got to pay like everybody else. That being said, and I'm not knocking my opponent by no means, because he's done well for himself. He's lived over in Wellington for 26 years, and he owns 2 businesses, as he says. He owns Bud's Produce, which is doing well. He owns Loretta Foodland. But when he talks about industry and things that Nelson County and revenue, then he has no revenue in the city or the county other than his house. So that makes us totally different. And I'm not demeaning his business, but he's been, he's made it in life. I know he said he spends 50% of his time at Bud's Produce and 50% of his time at Loretta Foodland. So when I was going to school, 50 and 50 was 100. So how does he have time for the county magistrate? He said he'd make time, but I've got time because I'm retired, and I'll be a full-time magistrate. So that's the difference between who's running. Mm-hmm. Not that we're any better than each other, but I've got the time to do it, and I want to do it. I don't have to do it. I just want to do it.
And you've obviously put time into research it.
I definitely have. I don't say I'll get back with you or let me look into it. I've been through a lot of planning and zoning, and like I say, I sat on tax appeals board, so I'm not ignorant to none of it. And I go to city council meetings also. So that being said.
Before, I know we're about out of time, but I do want to remind our listeners that we are doing an extra, Bradford Brooks is doing an extra show this Friday, and we will have a candidate, Hank Holderman, who will be our guest. So just to remind you that we are having an extra edition of Bradford Brooks on Friday.
So it's Friday morning at 11 o'clock.
Yes.
And then this will be your only Friday, right?
Not the only Friday.
Well, soon we'll be back to the Friday on the records.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we got a few more
Right.
special Bradford and Brooks coming up this Friday. Will be the next one, 11 o'clock. David, thanks for coming in this morning.
Can I give a shout out?
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to give a shout out to my son, Robbie Avis, which has really helped me tremendously, and my cousin Jimmy, and my wife, and I want to thank everybody that let me put signs in their yard, and I'll get them out the day after the election. I know it's a lot of clutter, and I appreciate them letting me do that, and just give me your vote and give me a chance. That's all I ask for. Thanks.
All right, Margie, it's been fun as always, and thanks for joining us this morning for this special Bradford and Brooks, I guess, because I'm not Brooks. So Jim will hopefully be back in with you on Friday morning with Margie. In the meantime, stay with us. News is coming up next here on WBRT AM 1320.
Hometown Radio, WBRT Bardstown. 1320